hi everybody. As Kathy said, I'm Jennifer Robinson, the City and County Clerk, and I'm one of the unique City and County Clerks here in Colorado, where I am not an elected official. I'm appointed. So that's a little bit oddity here for my position. I was appointed last January 16th, so this was my first election. I was very nervous going into it, but we pulled it off. I'm pretty proud of the team. I think we did a great job, huh, Todd?
I think so.
And I am honored to introduce Todd Davidson to you. Just a short little bio about him. He has grown up in the elections world. You may remember his mother, Donetta Davidson, was the former Secretary of State. And then he worked with Arapahoe County for 5 years in their elections division. And last year, Matt Crane, who was the county clerk, was a Republican and lost to a Democrat. And so I snatched up Todd as quickly as I possibly could. And we are so lucky to have him. I hope that you guys understand what a wealth of knowledge that we have in Todd. He knows elections inside and out. And I explicitly trust him, and so we are shaping up the elections division, and I'm so proud to have him on our team. And he pretty much put together this report, and I'm going to let him run it.
Okay, thanks. Before we start, and you'll see a lot of pictures throughout the presentation with judges in it, and citizen judges play a huge part in what we do in administering the election. So I just want to say props to everyone in the crowd who was a citizen judge this year. Many of their work is not done yet, so thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, first, what was on the ballot? You all know it was primarily for us a municipal election, but we were also coordinating with surrounding school districts, Boulder Valley School, Jefferson County, Weld RE8, and Weld RE8 also had a Tabor notice. I doubt if any of you are in Weld RE8. We only have 8 households that are in Weld RE8. Ames Community College District as well, and then of course the state questions CC and DD. I missed one of my clips, got lost on the way here somehow. Anyway, there's been a lot of talk about how we ballot, how we set up the election for this election, and how we ballot, and how we tabulate for a nonpartisan race. And traditionally, Broomfield has, and we continued through this year, to issue ballots via ballot style. So you can see up here, instead of having a precinct number and split, we just have the district style. So there'll be multiple precincts for each style. It is pretty traditional to run a nonpartisan election that way. However, there is a trend, especially in the metro areas, of counties reporting by precinct, and I think we will probably be having those discussions as we go towards 2021. Oh, that's just a clip from last year's ballot that shows exactly, this was precinct 36, split 1, ballot style 2. So that's how we'll issue all of the ballots for next year, of course. All right, the turnout. All numbers that I'm presenting tonight are preliminary because I was working on this before 2 o'clock this afternoon. And as of 3:30, we still didn't have official numbers from the state. So these are a little bit light. Democrats had great turnout, over 8,000 voters. Republicans had 6,742. Unaffiliated, 8816, and other, 252. Other includes Green, Libertarians, Unity, approval voting. I'm missing a couple, but and as of 5, we did go over 50% turnout for one more time.
Todd?
Yeah.
And that's active against active voters.
That's against active voters, yes. This is turnout in comparison to 2019. You can see that Democrat turnout increased by almost 19%. Republicans held almost even within 2 ballots. Unaffiliated really turned out for this election, moreover than 2017, with almost 27% increase in unaffiliated. We had 5 extra. But with a total increase of 17%, which is really phenomenal. And it will, if you look at the difference between the active voters, 45,000 in 2017, and the active voters, 47,000 in 2019. So there's roughly a 2,000 voter difference between those 2 years, but turnout increase was over 3,300. So we had a lot more people turning out, and it's not just because we're growing as a city. This is an interesting snapshot at considering where we are as a city and county by registration by party. Dems in 2017 had 30%. They have slightly more than 30% with a 0.31 increase. Republicans have fallen from 28% to almost 25%. That's a negative 11% drop. And unaffiliated are making up a huge difference. People who are moving in are generally registering unaffiliated. So we're at almost 44%. We expect that to continue to rise. And Broomfield used to be a bellwether county in that our mix of parties was similar to the state's, but in the last 2 years we've left that position. We're slightly more liberal and certainly more unaffiliated than the state as a whole. Okay? Top turnout precincts for this election. No big surprise, Precinct 35, Anthem, turned out with 83% turnout, which is phenomenal for a 12-year election. Outlook and Wildgrass and Broomfield Country Club round out the top 4. Those are the only precincts that were above 60%. And then on the other end, the lowest turnout, of course, are mostly areas with more transient communities. Precinct 5, which is south of La Camora, was the lowest, then Front Range Mobile Home Community, then Interlochen, Villa Vara, Arista, and Precinct 37, which is that huge area north of Highway 7. Before I go on with this, in looking at the precinct numbers today, we have a ton of precincts that are over 2,000 voters, active voters. So we certainly expect in 2021, post-census, we will certainly go above 50 precincts for Broomfield, probably in the area of 60. I know that that changes things for how you guys operate for door-to-door canvassing, stuff like that. I just wanted to give you a taste of where we are in the process. Last night we accepted signature cures, and overseas mail ballots until midnight. So we did the final tabulation this morning. That was uploaded to the state. We balanced our cast vote record with our ballot manifest, meaning that the system sees as many ballots tabulated as we have in the containers ready to audit tomorrow. We uploaded those to the Department of State at about 3:30 this afternoon. So tomorrow, thanks Jen.
Sure.
So handy. Tomorrow, we await the Colorado Department of State dice roll. They roll a 20-sided dice to determine the order of the ballots that we will audit. We will be auditing one of the state questions, and that audit will be a statewide audit. And then we opted to audit the mayor's race for Broomfield. That will mean a lot of extra ballots because we had 3 candidates in that race. So we'll probably pull more ballots than Denver or El Paso does tomorrow. The state will give us a list of, and they estimate 300 ballots that we'll need to pull, and we have to pull that exact ballot. Then the judges compare how they see that ballot with how the computer sees that ballot, or saw that ballot, to make sure it's the post-election assurance that the tabulation system is working the same as human eyes would work, but hopefully more accurately. And we'll enter those ballots into the state system. We'll wait for the state and every other county to finish, but we will know by the end of the day if Broomfield passed on our race. We may have to do a second round on Monday if some of the counties don't pass the state race. I have great confidence that we will pass. This is a poster that we did of the I voted sticker. It's a big, well, that's about the size it is. And I don't know if you can see, it's a little small on the screen, but every judge that worked this election signed the poster. And we'll keep those around in our tabulation area as the elections go through. And if you guys aren't familiar with the sticker program, there's a piece in Sunday's Enterprise about it, so we're excited. So that's tomorrow. And then Saturday, we have canvass. These are all of the bins of ballots. The canvass board is a group of 6 people and the clerk who come together to inspect all of our reports, inspect all of our records, investigate anything they want. If they want us to pop open the seals on these ballots and they look at them, we welcome that. And then, of course, they can ask any questions they want, and ideally, we certify the election on Saturday. This is where we are for the next few months. You can see the pink was the coordinated. We won't finish totally with the coordinated until the end of the year almost, but we're already planning for and working with the presidential primary election. April, it gets a little hairy because we're in 3 elections at once. But of course, we've got the state primary June 30th and the general November 3rd next year. So 110 days away from this presidential primary. And there it is. This is our I voted sticker for the presidential primary. That'll be the pin for the judges. We've already got them in. We are doing commemorative pins for every election that the judges work. It's just a small way to say thank you and that we appreciate our judges. So, I've talked about judges, but here we have the retrieval judges. We've got the ballot, signature verification, ballot opening. Down there are the supervisor judges. And then all the way on that side, we have the VSPC. We had about 40 judges this year. If you include Canvas Board, we're up to 42. That's incredible for such a community, but if you have friends, next November we're going to need 100 judges. So keep us in mind. Give Gary your information. Or Ski. I guess Ski manages the list. And this is our team. Jennifer and I are the newest. I've been here since April 8th. Jennifer since January. Daniel's been with the elections department for 2 years, and before that he was in our motor vehicle department. Penny has been around since the county became a county. Before that, she worked at the Secretary of State's office. I really didn't realize how lucky I was going to be in accepting this position because our team is, I would put them up against anybody in the state. Daniel could easily run a small election on his own. Penny could probably run a large election. So we're really lucky in that we have great, brilliant staff. So, and that is about all I have, Jen.
Yeah, so I just wanted to touch base. We had received a couple emails from Ski and Kathy regarding our reporting and requesting us to report on the precinct level, but not just turnout, the results. And so there's a couple different reasons why we haven't done that. A, statutorily it's not required. So historically we just haven't done that. B, it means we would go from 11 different ballot styles to 47 different ballot styles. And so when I think about that as a clerk, I have a little bit of reservations just because, you know, when you're looking at the election judges, they are then in-person voting. They're having to go through 47 different styles to make sure that they hand out the correct style. Just this election, we had 3 instances where somebody was given the wrong ballot style. It's fixable, it's easy, but I think that the possibility of human error is a little bit unnerving to me. And then in addition, the cost. We've estimated that it would be about $6,000 more to do that kind of reporting with all of those different ballot styles. However, we have talked to, I'll answer in just a second. We have talked to city manager's office and we've talked with our legal team, and it looks like we are going to go that way in 2021. This isn't a firm yes, but we are really looking into it, and we've gotten direction from CMO to look at doing that. And it just means we have to get approval from the budget and from CMO to put that in our budget. So, question?
Yeah, so let's say that I don't know what a ballot style refers to. What is a ballot style?
So, a ballot style is a ballot that contains all the relevant information for your residents. So a ballot style will vary based on ward. Obviously, if you live in Ward 3 or 4, you're only going to get that ward of candidates. Based on school districts, any special districts that we might consider. So the combination of all those races end up on the ballot with your ballot style. And it is much easier for us to have 11 ballot styles. However, we certainly understand where it's not ideal for the parties. But that said, again, we've always considered this to be a nonpartisan race. We are working towards being able to report by precinct, but it's not in the cards for this race. We will be able to report by ward. We will be able to report by ward, and we will have those up after we certify the election at votebroomfield.com. Yes, sir.
You rotate candidate names so that the first person is not always first on every ballot.
You want to?
Yeah.
Sure.
So we actually did a lot drawing this year, and we did invite the candidates, and we invited the newspaper, but we literally put the candidates' names in a hat and drew them, and that was the order that they were on the ballot.
But you don't rotate.
No.
No.
The first candidate on any list is favorite. I don't think you should avoid rotating.
Well, but so then the next election, oh, you mean rotate them on ballots?
So that you have ballot form A, ballot
Okay.
form B, and one person's on the number 1 on that ballot, and is number 2 on the other ballot. And you divide
Yeah, the
that
law
up.
doesn't allow us to do that.
Who does?
The law. Title 31 and Title I doesn't allow for that. This is how, the lot draw is how state candidates are placed on the ballot, and it's how we place candidates on the ballot. We certainly try to be very open about it, but that's exactly how the law requires us to do it. I'm not saying it's the fairest way.
In some areas, a lot depends on, of course, not in a nonpartisan race, but if the county clerk or whoever's a Democrat, then the Democrats are up first, and if it's a Republican county, so we need to presumably avoid that. Unless D is head of R, and then you have to have all the Ds, but that's a different issue.
Sure, sure. And it's interesting when we do the lot drawings, you know, we had quite the, Stan, were you lower level?
Yeah, how many of the candidates were,
We're top line.
how many of the candidates were at the lot drawing?
William was top line. Well, William wasn't there, but
I was there.
yeah. We definitely try to be very fair about it, but I understand your point. Certainly in Arapahoe last year, we did the lot draw, and of course my boss, Matt Crane, ended up on the lower line, and every other Republican ended up on the top line, and those were drawn by the Democratic chair. So you never know.
Might be worth your while on a lazy Saturday afternoon to see whether the top line got more votes than the second line.
It certainly didn't in this election.
Just a question about security, not really concerned about this election, but for the next election. How is the information transmitted from the county to the state?
Oh, I'll let you explain the process, but it's pretty in-depth. It's pretty secure.
So the state has its election night reporting system, which is not fail-proof. It has historically gone down. I believe it was 2014 that it went down. And we do have backup plans locally for that, if that were to happen. But to transmit from our tabulation system to the state system, it's about a 15-minute transfer because the two systems are not connected. We have a thumb drive that is, the firmware on it is programmed to erase itself after each use, and it's password protected. It's a size of a normal thumb drive, so putting in a password on that keyboard on top of that thumb drive is like you really need a pencil eraser to get it done. If we could just take it on a normal thumb drive and move it from our tabulation system to the county computers that are connected to the state, it would take 2 or 3 minutes. But because
And it wouldn't be as secure either.
yeah, but because our tabulation system is airlocked, air-gapped, we take very, very extensive measures to make sure that we're not bringing anything nasty back from the county computer to the tabulation computer. Colorado has one of the strictest airlock procedures, and of course we're audited regularly.
So, I mean, just for like a step-by-step, we go into the tabulation, we put the flash drive in there, we have to enter the code, and then we have to pull it out, and then we have to get it to our computer that then uploads to the state, put in the code again, and it has to be done within a certain amount of time because that will erase itself. So if you don't know the code for the flash drive, and we only had 1% that did, so I feel like it's a really secure process.
Yeah, and then once the information is taken off of that flash drive, it's wiped clean by the inside of the own drive. So the only information it still contains on it is the passcode, which you have to set up again. It's really like starting from scratch every time you sneeze.
And it
But
sounds like the tabulation computer isn't networked or...
it is, no, it's
No.
not networked at all. When we want to do security updates, and we do them almost weekly, the state will send out a secure update patch, and we'll patch those computers not via the network. These computers have never touched a network, and until they are decommissioned as elections computers, never will.
And it is, I mean, you guys are welcome to come tour our facility anytime, but it isn't a locked room. So we have to have a badge and a key to get into that room as well, so nobody other than the elections has access to that room.
And it's under video surveillance 24/7, 365. And so, yeah,
But that's a great question.
it is a great question. Also under surveillance during an election are our ballot boxes, the 24-hour ballot boxes. the tabulation room. There's 2 cameras down there to make sure the judges aren't doing anything hinky. A lot of them wave just to make sure that we're seeing them. But really, there's not much part of the process except for the retriever judges coming back that are not under video surveillance. And of course, every step of the process is done with bipartisan judges. No one does anything on their own, and no one does anything with the member of your own party. But honestly, next election, if y'all want, if you have interest, work with Ski and we'll set up a tour date. We can get about 5 or 10 people in there at a time, so we can stagger however many folks you want to have come in. We love to show off our system because we're so proud of what we do, and the more you understand how the votes are tabulated, the more you can go out there and proselytize that it is a secure system. Now, I can't guarantee Alabama or Florida, but I have deeply held beliefs about the good work that we're doing in Colorado to secure our elections.
What, there was someone else, yeah.
I just wanted to find out, how is it that you go about becoming a judge in Broomfield?
The parties nominate you, so, yep.
Yeah.
And again, like we said, so there was an omnibus bill that was passed in this past legislation that requires us to have another vote center for our general election on November 3rd. And so when we looked at the city and where we thought that should be and discussed it with city manager's office, we kind of determined that maybe up north in Anthem, because that area is growing so much. So Todd and I met with the Prospect Ridge principal, and he has graciously allowed us to use their facility. I'm so excited for that. It's beautiful, it really is. It's gonna be a nice setup where people don't have to come into the school. They can go around, and then we're gonna use their weight room actually, and they're gonna get it all set up. But that being said, we will have 4 vote centers as opposed to 3, so we will need election judges and we will need to staff them. So tell your friends. It's so much fun, and we take care of our election judges, right, Ski? There's bagels, there's coffee, there's donuts, there's stickers, there's pins. Yeah.
Just a follow-up question about election judges. If you are one, is there some other regulations about what you are not allowed to do anymore, such as canvassing?
So the canvas is a separate board, and that's actually appointed by the mayor. The mayor. Oh, like what you're doing?
Sure.
Okay. So we actually did, we do have a policy, and if you are publicly, I get this word wrong,
Endorsing.
thank you, publicly endorsing a candidate, we'd rather you not be looking at a ballot. So there's plenty of opportunities for that individual. You could be a greeter, or you could be a ballot retriever, but if you are publicly endorsing a candidate and really behind them, then it's just the optics of you being able to see the ballots. So we, that's what we decided. Yeah.
Does that policy apply to issues as well as candidates?
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up, Dave. Yes, it does. Yeah.
You mentioned that you thought you were going to have to increase the number of precincts.
Yes, after the 2020 census, the wards will be realigned. The wards are a little uneven right now because of high growth in especially 2 and 4, I think. Yeah. Wards like the Ward 1, Ward 5, we're not seeing substantial growth now, although in 5 we anticipate huge growth going forward. So once the wards are realigned by city council, city manager, city attorney, we'll do our best to give input on the ward realignment.
The wards are
Yes.
trying to get those equal.
Yes, exactly. But it's a challenge because with ward realignment, we have to include in the new ward the residences of both of the sitting council members. So, so it's not simple. But then when we go into precinct, we like to have clean precincts that don't cross multiple school districts, for example. We'd like for precincts not to cross a ward, obviously. So there's a lot of things that we juggle. We have 38 special districts in Broomfield that we also have to consider. Yeah, we do anticipate, and Colorado law only allows us to have up to 1,500 active voters in a precinct. We have many precincts now because we're in a period where we're not allowed to re-precinct or split a precinct because after the general election that ends in an 8, a year that ends in an 8, you're not allowed to re-precinct or split a precinct until after the congressional districts are realigned in 2021. So there are a lot of precincts that need to be either split or split twice because we've got some over 2,000 in apartment complexes.
Is there a possibility that you would add another board?
That would take a charter change. So I don't anticipate that.
What do you think about that, Stan? Being a current council, let's put you on the spot. Being a current council member, do you think that's something that the council would opt for, to go for another ward, because it would ultimately be up to council?
I think it'd be an interesting discussion to have. I think there are, as you mentioned, a lot of things that we have to think about. Certainly the cost, how to do it, what it would take to do it. I know we've had discussions like that in the past, and I think it's something that we'll definitely visit it in the future. As the city gets bigger and the population grows, the job is becoming more and more intense. So.
But the thing that I love about our process is there will obviously be an opportunity for the public to weigh in on that as well. So, yeah. What do you got, John?
Do they use computer-aided formats to review these precincts?
Yes. Broomfield has an awesome global information systems department, and they're brilliant. We work with them in considering where to place our new VSPC. Now, if you don't like where we're placing the VSPC, part of the omnibus bill requires that we post that decision package for 90 days, and it will be on votebroomfield.com, and you can go on there and suggest other locations. We certainly have to take all of that information into consideration before we present the final plan to the city council.
Yep.
So if memory serves me correctly, earlier this year, City Council voted to within 90 days of the completion of this election to start looking into the redrawing of the ward and precinct boundaries. I don't recall exactly what that wording of that was, but it was something to that effect, that they were going to start looking at it within 90 days. And my question is, so you mentioned 2020, is it not being able to have any impact or do that actually to 2021?
Well, I think, and Stan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they wanted the census to do their work first.
I don't recall. I would have to go back and look at that, Steve. Yes, the intent was to do it as soon as possible after this election, because we don't want to have to do it just prior to the next election in 2 years. So
But that's what they're.
Yeah,
That's what I'm hearing.
and wards could be realigned at council's will, but precincts are not allowed to be re-precincted until after the census and until after we get new, we'll have new state house districts, new state senate districts, certainly new congressional districts, and then we very likely will have new ward districts.
the goal is definitely, I think we talked about this before, the goal would be to get it done within the next year. Because once we get through a year from now, people start declaring again for the 2021 municipal election, and we don't want to have to worry about it at that point, so.
Well,
Next year.
to follow up on what Steve's saying, I think it's resolution 2019-77, and it says that staff has to prepare 3 alternative maps within 3 months of the election.
That's for wards, I believe.
Not
not
Board
precincts.
boundaries,
Yeah,
yes.
not precincts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're completely, because we're a home rule city county, they're completely able to do that. But precincts are ruled over by Title I, and we can't touch precincts until afterwards.
I think the message that you're getting from the room is we are very interested in this, and we will be keeping track of it, and probably a lot of us will be contacting our council people to find out what they're doing, what they're thinking about it. So just keep that in mind. It will be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm sure the council members and the future council members certainly understand that.
And you guys know you can always email council@broomfieldcitycouncil.org, and you can also email city manager's office, and those kinds of things, you know, that's their decisions. So let your voice be heard for that.
Yeah.
Just a reminder, we speak to the unaffiliated, speak voting in March and June.
Of course,
What was the question?
unaffiliated's in the primaries.
Oh yeah, so if you are unaffiliated, you will get 2 ballots. You'll get both the Republican and the Democrat ballot. You will vote one and then send it back. And we will have all kinds of campaigning around that. The Secretary of State actually does a really good job with that. And then we also have ballot inserts that will go into, because most people are gonna say, why am I getting 2 ballots? So we have inserts that explain that. Was that your question?
Yes, just to somebody that asked me that this past week, and if they can vote in March.
Yes, they absolutely can. They will get both ballots and then they just send one back.
And if you are registered as a Democrat, as I suspect most of you are only going to get a Democrat ballot. And the Republicans the same. And if you're registered as a Libertarian, you're not going to get a ballot.
Yeah.
Aren't the unaffiliated going to be also given an opportunity to put in a preference ahead of time?
They are.
So those unaffiliated that do that will not be getting 2 ballots, they'll get whatever their preference is.
They will not. We have a very colorful set of envelopes for the judges. Coming up for the 2 primaries, we're using a couple of Broomfield's lesser known official colors, sun orange and I forget what the lime green color is called, but and then followed hyperlink, of course. These are all names of colors that I'd never heard of before I came to Broomfield. But yeah, so the reply envelopes are going to be based on not whether you're affiliated or unaffiliated, but if you got 1 ballot or if you got 2.
And we are very excited too, Ski, you'll love this, because this was one of your emails that you sent us. We did go with the company ballot tracks for next year, and so you will be able to go online and sign up for ballot tracks, and then they will email you when your ballot is sent, once it's received and everything like that. So it'll be a great opportunity for you guys to.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if we have your email already on file, we will auto-enroll you and we will send you an email saying if you don't want to be part of this, you can opt out. If you want to be part of this and you want to add your cell phone to get a text, here's where you go. We don't auto-enroll for people, even if we do have your mobile phone because of the FCC. All it takes is like 8 complaints and we get in deep fines for that. So we let you enroll for the phone, we enroll you for email.
If you're unaffiliated and you get your 2 ballots, Democrat and Republican, you mail both of them in. Does the church play an account, or is that according to the
I'll let the judges explain that.
Go ahead, Dave.
We had that happen a lot, last year. And if both of them come in blank, as many did, then they're simply not counted. It's all blank races. If they are both voted, they're both disqualified. They're rejected because they voted in 2 races, they voted too many ballots. If you return a single ballot and it's adequately marked, then that's counted.
Yes.
Is the information publicly available in terms of you share the information about the number of registered Democrats, registered Republicans who voted, all that kind of stuff? Will you share the information, and maybe you have in the past, about those who are independents who choose a Democrat ballot, and so choose it in advance, and those who are independents who vote Democrat or Republican as well.
So, we do post a list of unaffiliated voters who have opted in. We also post a list of affiliated voters who have changed their party within 90 days of a primary. And afterwards, we post a list of how, not how they voted, which party's ballot unaffiliated voters voted. That's all upon, that is not part of the questions that voters voted on. That is how the parties reacted to the demands of the voter. So the parties requested, if voters are going to participate in our party, we want to know who's participating and voting in our party. So that's all public information. We don't broadcast it. I'm sure that, I know that the state party keeps that information. I would imagine that the local party keeps that information. But yeah, that's public info. Now, how you vote, and again, come visit the process, because it's very difficult, if not impossible, for us to, for our judges to see how someone votes. We do have a machine that helps us separate the ballots from the envelopes, and once that happens, there's no going back. Once we figure out, oh, this envelope, this voter voted 2 ballots. Well, we can't, well, we could probably connect that with 2 ballots and note that in the voter's record. But once we're flattening out the ballots, it's really impossible to go back and say, well, this person voted for John Doe. Well, I'm going to go back and count the number of ballots. Well, in between the time we take them out of the envelope and the time they're tabulated, they're shuffled. So it's very difficult for us to go back. Now, the only place that there's a difficulty on our part anonymizing ballots are in a precinct where we have 8 households. And 4 of those 8 households happen to vote in this election. And all 4 voted the same way on one question. Well, you know how those voters voted, and there's no way for us to hide it. There's no way, it's just, it is what it is.
I have a question for you guys. So this year, we opted not to do the secrecy sleeve because the envelope was a secrecy envelope, and we mainly did that for cost and also the time for the election judges to take that out of the secrecy sleeve. And we also didn't do the hidden tab with the signature. So we haven't really got a lot of feedback on that. What do you guys think? Good? It was good?
Yeah.
I know the judges loved not having to pull those tabs. That was, yes, painful. Yeah.
News reports that a number of ballots across the country are not counted because the signatures don't match. Well, I've seen the way people sign their name, and I'm not slightest bit surprised. I do not think that matching signatures is right, unless I can see my signature you're going to match it against at the voting place, because, you know, signatures suck.
They do. And yeah, Dave, do you want to talk on that?
Yeah,
What our
I'd like
process
to
is?
address that. Out of 24,000 some odd ballots that were returned, less than 200 were rejected by the signature verifiers. And every one of those that was rejected, that person was sent a letter, that voter, and given the opportunity to cure that. When the verifiers look at those signatures on the envelopes, they have the full range of whatever the state system has online in SCORE, the state voting system. We may have 15 signatures to compare for that single voter. Or a lot of new voters, we only have 1 signature to compare. But even out of that, less than 200 that were rejected, many of those were because, probably a third or less, were because they didn't sign it at all. So we had no signature verified. So verifying signatures, and I don't know if you guys are gonna talk about agility or not, but it may be premature for that, never mind.
Before you get to that, let me introduce everybody to Dave Damron. He's one of the two Democratic Party supervising election judges. Carl Salazar is the other Democratic Party supervising judge. And you'll see Carl attends our meeting from time to time here also. But this is the Dave that everybody keeps referring to because he's one of the supervising judges, election judges. So go ahead.
Yeah, signature verification is really a pretty perfunctory role, but it's something that has to be done. Otherwise, you don't know whether the person's a valid voter. And we are able, in probably 99% of the cases, or actually more than 99, to actually verify those signatures. And all of our signature verifiers, we have 6 bipartisan teams of 2, are all experienced.
And they're trained on a state program that all signature verifiers in Colorado have to go through. I'll say a little bit about signature verification because I helped to develop the training for it. It is not perfect. And you'll find that there is variation between counties on how strictly they lean towards favoring the voter versus favoring process. Boulder typically will reject twice as many ballots as Broomfield does. But we work very hard to go through every single signature, like Dave says, to find one that would match. Now, one of the populations that most often gets challenged are young women. Young women who pre-registered at age 16 or 17 and who are now 19 or 20, and their signature has changed substantially after they've graduated from high school.
Or they're in college and their parents sign the ballot for them.
Yeah.
And send it in.
And that's illegal. Don't do that. Lacey.
I just have a question about where those signatures are coming from. So I assume like the DMV is one place, but a lot of times when we have to sign our names, it's on those digital boards.
Yeah.
And I don't know about anybody else, but my signature on a digital board is completely different than how I do it on paper. So are you getting those from a digital board, or are you getting a combination?
Go ahead.
We're getting those from a digital board from the DMV every time you visit the DMV.
So like every 4 years?
Yeah. But what is much better for us are the wet signatures that we record from your ballot envelopes. So we scan every single ballot envelope. Yeah. So every time you vote, we're building another signature onto your record. Every time you update your voter registration with a paper form, we're adding that to your record.
And that's where when Dave said sometimes there's 15 signatures, we keep a record of all of that. So
yeah.
Does that get shared across counties? So if you move out of Broomfield County into Adams, does that get?
It follows you.
What about out of state?
No. No. If you are a Broomfield resident and you move to Texas for 3 years and then you move back, we're gonna still, even when your voter record is canceled, you're still in our system. We can still find you. So when you move back, we have all of your old signatures plus whatever is new from the DMV and hopefully from a paper record. It's going to be more tough with new voters starting next year because automatic voter registration kicks in next year. And if you have an interaction with the Department of Revenue, Department of Motor Vehicle, we will register you, send you a letter, and you can opt out of that voter registration. But everybody will automatically be registered to vote. Now there's an estimated 10% of Colorado's population that could be registered to vote that is not, we think. So if you think about Broomfield, that's an extra 5,000 voters that could be registered that are not. We do a little bit about how we follow you around. We do use big data. Anytime you file a change of address record with the United States Postal Office, we will update your voter record. Anytime you have an interaction with the DMV, we will update your voter record. Certainly, anytime you pop in or out of the penal system, we will update your record. But That law has become more liberal in that it used to be probationary ex-offenders could vote, but parolees could not. And starting this year, parolees could vote. So this year we worked with the library education system, and Jennifer and I went to the detention center.
And we registered, what, 5, 6 people?
5 on the first day, and I think 9 in total were able to vote. Now, half of those were out-of-county inmates, but we worked with surrounding counties to get their ballots to them and get their voted ballots back to their counties so they could be counted. If you're on parole, you can vote now. And we have a lot of people at the detention facility who are awaiting trial, they can vote. Or who are serving time for a misdemeanor, and they can vote. It's only people who are serving time for a felony that are excluded.
What else do you guys have? John?
You voted in 2 states.
Well, Colorado is a member of the Electronic Records Information Sharing System, aka ERIC, and we use it for more than just your voting record. So if you are in Texas and pass away, ERIC is going to tell us that you passed away. ERIC is also going to tell us if you voted in Texas and Colorado in the same election. We don't get a lot of cross-state double voting, although in my previous county we had one case of it, and it was a father who was voting his son's ballot. His son was a physician and moved to Ohio. We knew that the son had voted in Ohio, and the father voted the son's ballot in Colorado. The father was convicted. So there are currently 31 states or entities, if you call the District of Columbia, that we share cross-state information with. It's also helpful to keep our voter rolls clean, because if you move to Kansas, we're going to know that you've registered to vote in Kansas, and we're going to inactivate your voter registration here. Okay?
So I think Kathy's ready to come take the mic. Thank you guys so much for allowing us this opportunity. Really appreciate it. Again, I can't say enough how fabulous Todd is and the rest of the elections team. Broomfield has lucked out tremendously getting these guys on staff. So any questions you guys have, you can shoot us an email or you can come visit us. And again, in the primary, come see how we run things. It's really actually quite fascinating. So thank you so much.
Thanks again to the citizen judges. We couldn't do it without you, honestly.